When we talk about play therapy across cultures, often I'm asked, does play therapy transcend cultures? Does it have the same voice universally? And the answer is a simple yes. Play is natural to children. Play is natural and an essential part of development. In fact, we're learning through neuroscience that if people don't play, they don't learn. So everything we learn, even mathematics and so on, we learn through play. And what I mean by that is that we have to suspend our hold on ordinary consciousness and go beyond, in a sense, the bounds that we're used to calling real or the end of reality. That way we open ourselves to something new and creative. So when we talk about the cross-cultural influence of play and play therapy, I really firmly believe that the Sandplay, which is represented back here, takes this cross-cultural healing a step deeper. In fact, it becomes from the Jungian point of view, we call it the collective unconscious. What Sandplay does is it creates in the tray a limited, defined space that fills the vision of the viewer. So that allows the viewer to go into this liminal state, the space, the play frame, beyond ordinary consciousness. And then we have a selection of figures, of miniature figures, that represent all parts of life and fantasy, and also some materials to make things if we can't find what the person needs. So basically, the sand being malleable and so on can take any form. The trays are painted blue on the bottom so they can make a design or a lake or a river or a sea. And the person comes to the tray and just kind of tunes in, as it were, and shapes the sand, goes to the shelves and picks out figures, whatever just jumps out at them, and they return to the tray and make a little world in there. They may need to go back a number of times. It really doesn't matter. But the most interesting part is that they know when they're done. And then at that point, the therapist comes around and very quietly, keeping that very sacred space, gently asks if there might be any associations while they were doing it. We ask that for adults. With children, we might say, was there a story, or was there a title to this one? And they may have something to say. They may have a lot to say, or they may have absolutely nothing to say. It's fine. So what we do then is just allow the Sandplay. I encourage the people to just let this live in you. And it's working on you from the inside out. Because what's gone on here is that the collective unconscious, that part of being that informs all of us. You can look at that neurologically, hereditarily, genetically, cosmically, whatever handle or access point you want to use to get into it. But what happens is, I use the term collective unconscious, allows us to pick figures that we need to address the issues at which point our psyche is stopped right now. So as I put the figures and place the figures in the tray, in the presence of this very knowing and very highly trained therapist, the psyche is actually moving. The psyche is reconfiguring as I place these symbols. Neurological changes are occurring. Now, these are happening, and we work over a course of a series of trays, so we call that a process of change. And then what happens is that the more verbal parts or conscious parts of therapy will be in arrears of this process that's working deeper. But the material that's coming up in the Sandplay will become conscious, but it takes its own time to move into consciousness. The one thing that is the most important that we need to know about Sandplay is that it is deceptively simple looking. It's a box of sand. Anyone can do that. Anyone can have a bunch of toys. But the most important tool in that office is that therapist. Because the therapist is what we call the container. The therapist is the one who knows this psychic territory by having undergone his or her own work. And they are prepared and well-trained to deal with anything that might come up at any moment. So what I do is encourage them to train and train and train. We have specific parameters that are recommended, but the training never stops, just as our own internal growth never stops. But as I said in my book, The Handbook of Sandplay Therapy, the last thing I said is, after 700 and something pages, learn all of this, study it well, do your own work, and then put it aside and go into that room and be empty.